Hey guys, this is a math video for you today to help you remember the strategies we've been using. So hopefully this will be helpful to you as you try working on these with less help today. So if you have your math papers, we are going to be doing pages 197. It says how many are left, and 198. That also says how many are left. So we're going to do 8 problems today. These are the same problems on Google Slides. So our stories are a little different. They're not comparison stories today. The title, how many are left, is a big key word in what you're going to be solving today. So I'm going to do one problem with you. So you're going to have the answer to question 1. And I'm also going to go over some options for strategies that we've looked at together. So first, we are going to read the stories. And I want to warn you that questions 1 through 4 have some special vocabulary that not all of us are familiar with. Some of you may remember this from 1st and 2nd grade because of this math that we've used. But there's a helpful tip at the top that will help you. So if you want to do this one with me and really follow along, you're going to have the answer to the first question. So on your sheet, you're going to see that for each problem, we're writing an equation and we're solving it with a strategy like we've been doing. And then of course, we'll show our solution. This is the part that can be confusing. So it says, remember that there are 100 stickers in a sheet. So anytime you see the word sheet, it means hundreds. And then 10 stickers are in a strip. So if you ever see strip, it just means 10, okay? All right, so our first story is about Catherine. Catherine had 5 sheets. So if I were you, when it says 5 sheets, I'm just going to go ahead and write 500 right there on top because that's what that 5 sheets means, 500. She has 500 baseball stickers. She gave 40 stickers to her friend. So it's just 40 stickers. It's nothing else special. She gave. Gave is a key word. Gave tells me that she's a very good friend, first of all, and that she is going to not have these anymore. They're going away. So if you think about that in math, going away, giving away, that means subtract. She gave 40 stickers to her friend for a birthday present. How many stickers did Catherine have left? So we are not seeing the how many more or how many, we're not seeing the comparison story now. Just saying how many stickers does she have left after giving them away. So this is just a regular subtraction problem. And it also happens to be a pretty easy equation to solve. This is not usually too tough for a lot of people. But what I want to do is I do want to show you a few ideas for how you might solve it. So one thing I want you to know is that just like we've been doing, if you start at your lower number and you count up to your larger number, this is still going to work and it will feel more like adding if you like that way better. Also, if you're going to just subtract, don't forget keeping this first number as it is very smart. So if I'm going to use a number line, I can still continue with the same strategy of putting my large number at the end and my smaller number at the beginning and working my way up or working my way back. So I think what I'll do is I'll add 60. Now I'm doing it on the whiteboard to make it quick for me to show you more than one. You can do this on your paper and choose one strategy. Remember, you can also always pause and rewind a video. So when I add these two together, it gets me to 100. That's why I like my combinations of 100. And then I can get from 100 to 500 quickly by adding 400. Now you need to understand that I am not done. I have a very beautiful number line, but I am not done because the answer is in the jumps. So I have a 60 and I have a 400. That is how much distance it took to get from one to the other, or to go backwards from one to the other. If I go the other way, I could do the same thing. And that is my final answer. So make sure that you understand how to look at your number line and find your answer. Also, there's nothing wrong with having to break these numbers down even more. If you did not see that you could do a 400, that's okay. If you needed to do a 100 and then another 100, that's always fine. Another way that you might do it, although it's not my favorite way, and I don't know that it's the best way because some people can get confused, is if you're trying to just subtract, you can always take the 500 and you can break it apart. So I can take my 40 and I could subtract the 10 and slowly work my way down. But even this right here makes my brain have to slow down just a little bit. So I could keep breaking it down. But what I'm doing is I'm subtracting by tens. But see, even this is not a comfortable way to subtract, or a comfortable way to do this problem. 470, take this 470, and I have to subtract again. And now, see, I have to pay attention to the fact that I subtracted 40 right there. So that's a tricky strategy to break it by place. That's kind of what this looks like is when we were doing the by place strategy in addition. But I just wanted to remind you that even if the numbers get a little harder, you can always take that smaller number in your equation and work your way up to the big number. And that's adding up to find the difference in these two numbers, and that will help a lot. So as you do this worksheet, the first one, remember that sheets is hundreds. It would be really smart for you to write on top of the numbers so you don't forget, and circle those numbers. And on the next page, when you do this side actually has numbers that are pretty normal. They're not using the words sheets and strips anymore. So actually, I'm going to solve one more. I'm going to do the first one that's on the other page if you would like to continue watching and know the answer here. Otherwise, remember, you can pause and you can get started. So again, I'm doing an equation and I'm showing my solution, meaning I'm showing a strategy. Okay. The Greenville City Museum had 145 stamps in its Canadian stamp collection. The museum sold. So if they have them and then they sell them, now they don't have them anymore. So that's a subtraction situation. The museum sold 60 of them to another collector. How many are left? So this is a clue to me. I'm not comparing two things. The museum just gave away or sold these stamps. So that means that they had 145 stamps and they got rid of 60. Okay, so again, just a trick. You can start at 60 and work your way up to the 145 and find the difference by adding up, and that will work. So, but I am going to show subtraction. So if I write 145, because that's how many stamps they had when they started, and then they got rid of them, I can start to subtract. Now, if you start subtracting and you start trying to subtract 60, the thing that's tricky is you have to keep up with it. This is not smart. I'm just going to subtract 60. That's hard to track in your brain. It's just not a good idea. Now, what you can do though is if you look at the 145 and you start by taking away a 5, you would be at 140. Now, here's what I have to remember though. If I'm subtracting 60, I have to remember what have I already used. So if I've already used a 5, okay, I got to remember that. Now I'm going to subtract a 40. That's going to get me to 100. So now I've taken out 40 from this. So see how there's a lot of brain work to do. If I've used 40 and I've used 5, you have to think about what does that leave you. So if you remember those bubbles we did where we broke the numbers apart, the number bonds, then I have to think what's left inside this number. If I do another 5, now I've used 50, which means there's 10. So there's a 10 and a 5 left in this number. So I could do that, but see how it took some thinking, which is not going to be your best strategy. So 85 is the answer, but now what I want to do is I'm going to do it the other way, the way we've been doing, and it's less complicated. So instead of doing it the way I just did, which is pretty complicated, I'm going to start with 145 at the end, and I'm going to put my other number here, and I'm going to get myself from one number to the other. So let's see what happens. Plus 40, because that's a combination of 100, it gets me to 100. Oh, yes, 45. Now the last step is to look at my jumps. I've got a 40 and I have a 45. Guess what that equals? 85. Same thing I got before. It was a whole lot faster to do it this way. So take your time. I hate that I can't work with you and help you through it a little bit more today, but it's good for you to have to stretch and get a little uncomfortable and try your best. Just remember, showing your strategies, showing your steps is the best way to learn from your mistakes. And I can't wait to see you on Monday.